Welcome to the United Way's Community Impact Series, Advancing the Common Good. My name is Katie Gallagher, and I'm the Marketing Specialist at the United Way of the Lewis and Clark area. With us today, we have Carin McClain. Carin is the Tax Program Manager.
Absolutely.
At the Montana Credit Unions for Community Development. Kind of a mouthful there, but welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to talk about taxes. I know tax season seems like it's so far off, coming up in February, starting. However, it's really important that we start thinking about taxes ahead of time, and we have some exciting programs here in Lewis and Clark County that we're going to talk about how the general public can become involved with those programs. So to start off, can you provide a little bit of information about what Montana Credit Unions for Community Development is?
Okay, so Montana Credit Unions for Community Development, it is a mouthful, is the foundation part of the trade association for the credit union. So we're the charitable arm of the Montana Credit Union Network, and we work with credit unions across the state to provide economic resources to folks through credit unions. And we work on asset development is really our goal. And so we work on things like match savings accounts, the free tax program, which we'll talk about today, financial and consumer education.
Okay, so you work statewide, but you also definitely work here in Lewis and Clark County. So with the free tax help, Montana Credit Unions for Community Development, as well as United Way, is part of the Lewis and Clark County Free Tax Help Coalition. I feel like we are full of long-named organizations today.
Right.
But so what does this coalition do in the community? What groups are part of it, and what activities do they participate in?
Yeah, so here in Lewis and Clark County, we partner with United Way and also Department of Revenue and IRS, along with RDI, Rural Development
Dynamics.
Excuse me,
Inc.
Rural Dynamics,
Inc.
and also AARP.
Okay.
And so the reason that we're partners is because we're all interested in asset development and serving low-income folks in our community in Lewis and Clark County.
So a lot of people, when they think of taxes, they might not think about asset development. So can you take a quick moment to explain how taxes are connected to asset development?
Absolutely. So the first and foremost, most people need to file their taxes. And especially the clients that we work with, they might not have a filing obligation, but it's in their best interest to do so. So that's the first thing I want to kind of make clear is that don't be afraid of taxes, number one. And number two, remember that just because you're not required to file doesn't mean it's not in your interest to do so. So the reason that there's a link between asset development and tax preparation is that oftentimes many folks get a large amount of money back when they file their taxes through credits like the earned income tax credit, child tax credit, education credits, and then here in Montana, the Montana homeowners renters credit and other things. So the idea is, what can we do with that big chunk of money at tax time to help make the financial lives of our clients better throughout the year?
All right, and so the tax coalition here in the community, who prepares these taxes? So it's free tax help, but who are the preparers?
So the preparers are our stars, and they are volunteers. So the volunteers are an amazing group of people, and many of them have come back with us year after year. And what they do is they go through training that's provided by the IRS and my organization, among others. And at the end of that training, they get IRS certification. So it doesn't matter if it's your first year or your 15th year, you have to get this IRS certification every year. And that makes you able to, or allowed to file the taxes. So yes, our volunteers are the stars. They work with the clients, they get this IRS training and certification. And they really are central to their communities and helping get back these important credits.
And I think the important thing to emphasize there is you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be a CPA, you just have to be willing to learn.
Exactly, and I just, a tell-all moment here, I actually studied art history. And I became involved with the VITA program, which is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance program, when I was an AmeriCorps member, and I fell in love with it. And the reason that I did was because it really is a measurable way to impact people's lives. It's not sitting in a room talking about ideas. It's a measurable way to help families and individuals. So absolutely, you do not need to have tax background. Sometimes it's actually better if you don't. I would say the most important qualification is that you want to help people in your community, and that's really what we look for.
Yeah, and I also got involved in the VITA program as an AmeriCorps volunteer. So I was actually in the state of Hawaii, but it is such a rewarding, taxes are challenging. I had a lot of questions. I am not good at math, but there's programs there, and I was trained, so I was qualified. Most rewarding thing is to tell a family at the end of a tax preparation session that they're going to get $5,000 in deserved tax refunds. And that's such a rewarding feeling, because people use that to buy groceries, catch up on their mortgage, and save money for their children's education. And
it really is rewarding. And I also want to emphasize that you really have support the whole time. So during training, you have support of both of your other volunteers, but also of the organizations that host you, and also during the season. I mean, that's one of the funnest parts, is working with other volunteers and saying like, hey, Katie, I think that they qualify for this education credit, but I'm not really sure. Can you help me? And so that's one thing I love about it. There's this wonderful camaraderie between the volunteers, because they're all there for a common purpose to help people.
And so who can have their taxes prepared at these free sites?
Absolutely. So there's an income guideline. It's not an income, absolutely turn away people, but we like to serve people under $60,000 a year. And the main reason for that is that we are absolutely committed to only preparing basic returns. And as it tends that as you make more money, your return gets more complicated. So I think it's more important to talk about the types of returns that we prepare. We prepare basic returns, so that means we can't do complicated business returns, we can't do farm returns, we can't do returns with international income. So if you are a Montana family with 2 kids, and let's say your household income is even maybe $62,000 a year, we would love to help you. Where we can't help folks is when things get really complicated returns, because that's not really the mission of our program.
That's great. And what are the sites in the community? So I know that they're spread out across Helena and even in East Helena now. Can you speak a little bit to where folks are going to be able to go in January, or actually February?
Yeah, so our sites will open in February, and in order to see all the sites that are actually statewide, you can go to www.montanafreefile.org, and that will list all of the sites. I'm a little bit worried to list the sites in Helena, just because I'm not sure of all of them, but for the credit unions, we have Trico Community Federal Credit Union, we have Rocky Mountain Credit Union, Helena Community Credit Union, and then I know there's also some AARP sites. I know there's one at the library, there's one at the senior center. RDI has a site at Good Samaritan. And see, I feel like I'm leaving someone out. But if you go to Montana Free File, all of those sites are listed there.
Great. And I think in East Helena, it's the East Helena Methodist Church. So these are places that people are going in their everyday lives, to the library, to their credit unions, and things like that. So very accessible programs. And some of them are walk-in, and some of them require appointments. But we're talking a little early here in the season. So like you said, Montana Free File will have all this information on it as the season gets going. So that's definitely the resource place.
Yeah, and I think certainly for the credit union sites, if you call probably in January, that's when you can start making appointments.
Okay. And then if people are interested in volunteering, because that's really the push right now.
Yes, I would be thrilled to have you be. So the volunteers, we have a great returning group of volunteers, but we always need more. And so please go ahead and check out the Montana Free File website, and you can contact us through there, or you can give me a call. My number is 324-7459, and I will connect you. If it's not one of my sites, I'll connect you with the appropriate people. We love our volunteers, and even if you just are unsure and want some more information, please contact us and let us know. And one thing I just want to step back and say is that all of the taxes are prepared using professional software. So we certainly don't expect you to be pulling out the paper forms and using a paper or a pencil to prepare them. So that's great both for the volunteers, but it's also great for the taxpayers, because they get a professional result and it's electronically filed. So it's at the same caliber as you would at a pay prepare.
Okay, and then as we're talking ahead of tax season again, I know I'm starting to get documents that I'm putting together and paper clipping to get ready to do my taxes in the spring. What should people be thinking about now? If everybody's going to file taxes, or most everyone, so what should people be getting ready and thinking about now as far as if they want to take advantage of one of these sites? I know that Social Security cards are required.
So we need a photo ID and a Social Security card for everyone on your return. And we've actually been told this year that we can take Social Security statements as well. So the things to keep in mind are, let's say you had 3 jobs in 2014, just keeping a lookout to make sure you have all 3 W-2s. Also, we're going to have some interesting things with the Affordable Care Act. We're going to have people getting a Form 1099 SA, which will list some of the health care that they got through the insurance the insurance exchange, the marketplace. So I think that most people have kind of similar tax scenarios from year to year. So I think just keeping in mind, what you got last year and what if there's any differences. And also, if you're going to itemize, you want to certainly go through all of that before you come to the tax site. We would appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
To just have that all written out. And another great thing to bring with you to your appointment is last year's return. That is often a really wonderful guide for our preparers and making sure that you get everything you're entitled to.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up today, and I just want to say thank you again. The United Way is so proud to be part of this Free Tax Help Coalition here in Lewis and Clark County, because income stability is one of our major focus areas, and we realize that even though taxes aren't the sexiest program out there, that it really is an important income source for a lot of low to moderate income working families in our community. So thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll have a great tax season, so we look forward to it.